Davra Ovid mutar asafilo b'schar kotuf. You're allowed to do a Davra Ovid even for a wage, a cut wage. The Kamod Tila Bala Bais Litem Malachta Lefoil She'ein Lo Malecho Ashu Shaloi Chol Hamoed Tila Bala Bais Kedei Sheyeh Toiv Lapoil Hachanami Yesh Lahate Lapoil Little Schar B'Shil Toivas Bala Bais Tov Kuf Mem Beis. You have it. There are in the Rama of Sif Aleph. Okay, so now this is a. I was asked the following question this Chol Hamoed. Sometimes I get asked questions and I'm infuriated by the questions, and sometimes I'm infuriated by the questionnaire. And sometimes I even enjoy the question. That can also happen. Somebody asked me, my daughter is becoming Bat Mitzvah. Is it mutter for me to have her do her nails on Chol Hamoed? So, if I would have been in America, I would have said, you mean her sweet 16? Like a 12-year-old girl doing her nails? This is like, I didn't say that. And I didn't say that the Minig in Yerushalayim is for your Bas Mitzvah, your Mafresh Challah. For some reason, I didn't say that either. See, I'm not such a mean guy, right? Sometimes I just hold my tongue. And I said to him, I'm not going to discuss the question about doing nails itself, which I'll learn about that later. I said, she cannot have it done professionally. So he said, why not? I said, because anybody's professional will want to be paid to do it. And there's no heter to take money to do it. And people don't work for free. But if you want to do your daughter's nails, then you could do them. I didn't offer that I would do them for her. But, okay, but you understand? No, it doesn't have to be. And there's a question, we'll use this as an example. You have a person who is a doctor, and he has to do a surgery on Shabbos. Is he allowed to take money for it? What? What's the question?
If he does it for free, it's not gonna.
No. But I said, but what's the question? You're only doing it for pikuach nefesh, right? So how are you allowed to take money for it, right? No, this is the question. So theoretically, perhaps you're allowed to have a professional manicurist. Is that the name? I'm not sure exactly what you call them.
Nail painter.
A nail painter, okay. Anyways, you could have a professional nail painter to do it, but you can't pay the nail painter to do it.
The problem with paying is that the person giving or receiving money?
The person receiving. Now, I'm telling you exactly this reason over here. Why, if I have a Davra Ovid, just on the subject of Davra Ovid, somebody called me up today to give me a compliment, and I said, this compliment pains me. So I said, well, what happened? He said, do you recall I called you on Chol Hamoed on the behest of my brother. His brother lives in Vienna, and he invested a lot of money in a certain stock, and it's going to bottom out. He wants to know if he could sell on Chol Hamoed. So I said to him, the halacha, which is that if you really have a strong reason to believe that if you're going to wait, you're going to lose, then you're allowed to sell it. I don't think that's the way to go. And I know many stories that people who didn't do it and made money. Whatever. I said, yeah. Bagadol, I said, unless you have some very strong reason to say one way or the other, probably following halacha, you're not going to lose out. That's what I told him. Fine, I forgot all about it. The guy called me this afternoon. A different question, he said, but I just want to tell you about what happened on Chol Hamoed. And I said, first you have to remind me. And then he told me what happened. So he said, my brother-in-law said that he thanks you very much because he made a lot of money because of you. For some reason they didn't offer me a percentage. I don't understand why not. Just get a finder's fee. But Echshahu. So I said, so now let me hear the business. So this kind of stock, it's supposed to go up, usually goes up like 80%. And after it goes up 80%, it takes a dip. It takes a long time for it to go back up. And he didn't sell, and it went up to like close to 90% or something like that. And so I didn't ask how many shares he bought. I didn't ask any of those questions. And fine. So the question, which that question revolves around, is it a davar avod, not to sell your stock? So there is no answer to that question, because as my sister-in-law says, the stock market is just a glorified Vegas, right? I'm not saying there's no rhythm to it. You can be a day trader. We know all of the jargon that goes with it. Yet there are still people who lose money in Vegas and people who lose money in the stock market. Let's just leave it at that. But Echshahu, a davar avod is mutter because you're going to have a loss. Period. Okay? So once I'm going to have a loss, in such a case, especially if you understand that the Isser Malach and Chol Hamoed is a D'Rabbanan, Chazal were suspended the Isser. Being that they suspended the Isser, so therefore you're allowed to pay the worker to do it. Just like a person who has no money, and he wants to work on Chol Hamoed, so he should be able to put bread on the table, you're allowed to hire him, even though he's doing something for you that you don't need. It's Sukkos. The guy says, I have no money, could you maybe give me a job? You know what job I would give him if I lived in America? Rake the leaves. Okay? Thank goodness we live here. Right? That's a good job that there's no reason. Do you know what that means? They have that in England too, right? That's a good job, a thankless job nobody wants to do, and you can definitely wait. But this guy needs a job, so you kill two birds with one stone. You get your leaves raked, and this guy will have a job. So you're allowed to benefit. You're allowed to benefit from, let's call it, giving him tzedakah. What's the tzedakah you're giving him? You're giving him parnasa, right? So now I'm going to read the Mishnah Berurah. First, what does Rama say? You're allowed to do it even for the price, the fixed wage. Yeah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, why? The Hamoed de'atiru lebalabayis lite malachto lepoil she'eno malecho. Just like you're allowed to give a person who doesn't have food to eat, you're allowed to give him work to do. Even though my leaves just gets my wife off my back in general, nothing to do with for Yom Tov in particular, right? We let you rake the leaves so that the poil should have parnasa. Since I have stuff that's going to get ruined, and therefore I need to have it taken care of, so I'm allowed to take I don't remember who the I am. The worker is allowed to take money so that the balabas should not have a loss. Because once there's a loss involved, the halacha is suspended. Whatever davar avod loss is, I'm not getting involved in that.
Meaning when there's davar avod, commerce is mutter?
I'm not sure I know what that word commerce means. I know what the word commerce means.
But the business meant that I'm going to do something.
But that's not commerce. Commerce means business. If I have, I have a freezer full of fish, and the freezer broke. If I do not fix the freezer, I do not have fish. Okay?
Clear.
Okay, so I call my refrigerator guy and I say, could you please come and fix my freezer. So he says, I don't work on Chol Hamoed. I said, but I have a whole thing of fish, but I don't work on Chol Hamoed. So I say, have Rachmanis. Okay, I'll have Rachmanis. I take $200. That's Rachmanis.
The two cases are kind of opposites.
They're exactly opposite.
So the first case was the guy needed the money, and the work was a hechetim, so they give him the money.
Right.
Here, the work is what's necessary, and the money is just.
It's exactly the opposite, and it's exactly the same thing. The bottom line is when there's a side of urgency, the whole procedure is permissible. That's exact. That's your question is the answer. It's the exact opposite, but the same thought process includes both. When there is somebody who has an urgency, so the whole thing becomes permissible. It's not just a heter for him.
That's the story the Rabbanon were covered.
Right. Okay. Kol malacha muter la'asor says al yedei poel she'en lo ba'lechol k'dei sheyistaker v'arviach. This halacha. Says the Rama. That says the Mishnah Berurah. Hainu afilu shelo letzorech hamoed v'gam lo boy shinui. Now, one of the things which in Taisus in my cut discusses, there are things which were done for the tzorchei rabim. I was driving on Chol Hamoed someplace. We're not going to say lashon hara, so I won't say where. And we saw that the city was planting flowers on Chol Hamoed. So somebody was in the car and said, is that mutter? So I just responded. I didn't say what I said. I said it, earnestly. I said they probably made a deal. We won't plant on Shabbos if we can plant on Chol Hamoed. Right? Now, I know it. That wasn't, I just said that. The person also understood that I just made that up. It wasn't a real thing. But
if you did it in Kabbalahs without...
You're not allowed to work on Chol Hamoed.
Oh, it's Jews not going.
You're not allowed to have somebody work for you on Chol Hamoed. It doesn't make any difference. There's an Isra Amir Lakim on Chol Hamoed also.
I made up with him. In this season, you have to do X. So I didn't tell him to do it today.
Doesn't make a difference. Especially like this does make a difference.
That's what it's doing for me.
Yeah.
For Shabbos, it's not.
It will be, in this case, it will also be for Shabbos also. Lo Mishnah. The bottom line is, the Mishnah says explicitly, not like I'm saying, certain things are mutter to be done l'tzorchei rabim on Chol Hamoed, because there are people that are out of work, and you can get workers for cheaper, and therefore the rabim is allowed to cash in on the glut. Yeah, whatever. So even though I said, I don't think this is what's going on.
There's a lot of people who are working and they're basically living hand to mouth. And if they miss a few days pay, they have to go to Gemachim and all that stuff.
I'm not going to comment about what you're saying. I don't believe for a mini second that this is the basis of what was being done was based on.
No,
whether it's true or not.
I'm asking if that falls in the category.
People who live in hand to mouth, that's exactly what we're talking about. That they're a lot of work, 100%. 100%. I don't believe that the area of wherever this is, that this is what this is. That's not what's going on. And all right, we'll just leave it at that. Anyways. Okay. People don't know the person's financial situation. Like he wants to fix the road. Okay. He's allowed to even do this. Now this is a fascinating halacha in general. I just like to make a general statement, people buy things off of Hotzah L'Po'al. They have the mechirot and they sell things at Hotzah L'Po'al. Most of the time, it's usher to buy things from Hotzah L'Po'al. That's when the government garnishes things that you have, and they sell them on auction. They sell them all the different kinds of ways that they sell them. You know, in America, there are people who buy they buy cars from the police department. What? But yeah, there are all different kinds of stuff. Hotzah L'Po'al generally is usher, because what was taken away from the person was taken away in a way which is usher al pi halacha. And I'm not getting involved in that subject unto itself, which is just make that plug for a halacha. It's good to know that such a halacha exists. People are not aware. But echshahu, the subject of when a person has assets, so sometimes the government will say, well, you don't need to have such a fancy house, and they'll kick you out of the house and they put you into some other place. In halacha, that's not necessarily the case. Whatever the person has, so he's allowed to retain. So here the halacha is, even if the person has golden becher, and he can sell it and use a measly silver one, right? He's not mechuyev to sell his golden becher in order to not work on Chol Hamoed. Okay, so Hanukkah is a different for many reasons. Okay, but anyways, that's the Tina de Malchusa doesn't work for everything. Take a look in Simcha Vav and Shulchan Aruch. This is a great mistake. What does it go on? All right. Anyways, next siman. Kol davar she'asur la'asoisoi, asur la'im v'la'eni Yehudi la'asoisoi. Okay.
As Chomer Shabbos?
Perhaps. I just would like to share with you a Yom Tov story, a Yom Tov Sheni story about Amir La'akum, and perhaps I'll even vent about something that some poskim say nowadays and on the subject. I often, as this Yom Tov happened, I often have people who hold 2 days Yom Tov in my house on the second day of Yom Tov. And I often get asked the question, are they allowed to ask me to do malacha? Are they allowed to hint to me to do malacha? And I answer the question accordingly. We'll just leave it like that. And this Yom Tov, I told somebody who asked me this question, I said, let me share with you a story that happened. I was in Bat Mitzvah, and a friend of mine who lives in Ramat Shlomo, I see him in the grocery in Bat Mitzvah. So what are you doing here? So he said he had a medical emergency with one of his kids. So him and his wife came with their baby to Shari Tzedek, and his wife is in the hospital. His mother-in-law lives in Bat Mitzvah, and whatever. And then he says to me, my mother-in-law is going back after Yom Tov, this is the first day, to babysit because my wife is in the hospital. Can I take a ride with my mother-in-law? He's a Yom Tov Sheni guy. So I said to him, I don't answer these questions. Ask Rabbi Hyman. He's the Rabbi of the Groshul. So we go to Rabbi Hyman, we ask him this question. And he says, I don't answer these questions. Ask Rabbi Israel. So we go to Rabbi Israel, and we ask Rabbi Israel. And he says, I don't answer these questions. Ask Rabbi Neuvert. So we go to Rabbi Neuvert, and he didn't say what they said. He said much worse. He said, hear the question, and he said, it's mutter to do with a ben Eretz Yisrael on Yom Tov Sheni, whatever is mutter to do on Yom Tov Rishon with a goy. Good Yom Tov.
Nothing.
He didn't even say, I'm not going to answer the question, right? He just didn't answer the question. That was it. So, I told this to a guest of mine. He stopped by again on Yom Tov. He says, I went on Chol Hamoed to Bezriel's house, and I asked him, what am I allowed to ask a Ben Eretz Yisrael to do on Yom Tov Sheni. And the Brazil started to think, well, you can't tell him to do this, and you can't tell him to do that, whatever. And they said if there's something that maybe their Shita says, basically he said, I heard from Israel that he doesn't allow it. That basically, he just, so now, you're not allowed to have, even on Chol Hamoed, you're not allowed to have a guy do for you malacha that you're not allowed to do yourself. When there be a shayla of Sfeikis, this has to do with whether this is an Issa D'Oraisa D'Rabbanan.
How is that different from, the halacha, if you're taking Shabbos early in the usual time, you can ask another Jewish person in the building to turn on the light or something like that for you on.
That's an excellent question.
What was the question?
The halacha is that if I was Makal B'Shabbos and you weren't, I could ask you to do a malacha for me. So why is it that you can do that? So there are many answers to that question, but I would just, Shimon, I would like to apologize before I pick on you. It's not personal. Which one is the question?
You could ask.
I'm asking you, which one is the question?
In terms of second day Yom Tov versus...
The second day Yom Tov versus if you're already Makabel Shabbos asking somebody else to do a malacha for you.
Which is the difficult?
Which is the understood and which is the difficult?
Shabbos one is a device, isn't it?
I said, did I ask you which level you're going to? I said, which one do you understand?
I understand the Chol Hamoed one more than I do the Shabbos.
So why are you asking me a question? Why don't you ask the guy who teaches you Hilchos Shabbos a question? The answer to your question is
a visual chumrah.
a visual chumrah.
Individual chumrah. Close to Shabbos, this person's taking a visual.
And what about Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golus? I only hold one day.
It's not a personal thing. That's anyone who's in that category of
Okay.
not living there.
All right. The simple answer, which in the Magen Avraham goes with this answer, is that you can always be mater neder and take away. It's Levush's answer. Take away your Tosfos Shabbos. So therefore, in theory, you could also do it.
And also move to Israel.
That's a question whether you can move to Israel in the middle of Yom Tov. That's a whole other question. Anyways, but the question is a good question. No, I accept the question. They're saying that, let's be fair about the question, which is a difficult one. All right. Any Yehudi shekibo me'erev Yom Tov livnos beisa sheyisol b'kablonos also la'aniach la'asoyse b'chol hamoed af al pi shehu chutz l'tchum. Mamish not like Ari. It's a shver ezach. Even though it's chutz l'tchum, no one's going to know about it, you're not allowed to do it. Avol nosen lo malacha b'tolosh koydem hamoed b'kablonos. If you gave him malacha b'tolosh, and he's doing it in his own house, then it's mutter. Now, this is a fascinating halacha, and I would just... All right, first let's see the Mishnah Berurah. And he's not getting paid for working on Yom Tov. The Gamein with Saver Sheyase B'moed, and he didn't tell him to do it today. He's doing it out of his own volition. Why? People will say that he's a sacher. From kol ir dakam livnos bekablonis, ayin le'il sim reshmam dalid b'vir halacha im banu be'iser kiwenshu bekablonis v'los yom shari lo boy. If it was done, then he is allowed to live there. And this is a very important question nowadays. I think that I can safely assume that all building that's done in Eretz Yisrael, except for extremely small minority, there are non-Jewish workers who are doing the malacha. I think that's
Some of it. Not necessarily.
unless you're building like Beis Tefillah.
They tried.
It didn't work.
That's what I heard.
But I know that he was into that. I'll just make a plug for Rabbi Molinowitz. So was the Belzer Rebbe, the Belzer Shul that was built in Europe. In Europe
And
was
over here
all.
they tried it.
Yeah, well, the one here they tried because that's what the Arla did in Europe. But there is such an idea. In other words, it's not a joke, and it's davar mod chashuv. But whatever, they tried. Okay, whatever. It's different subject.
Havka is something that's a mitzvah, whatever, but a house also.
Anything that is built.
What was the point if there are non-Jewish workers?
Oh, so the question over here is that what are people do it nowadays? They always do it b'kablanis. All work that's done with mul mai kablan is done b'kablanis, more or less, or it's maybe on a cost plus price. The kablan, his workers who are goyim, he may have them b'schir yom. But by and large, the business of contractors is done b'kablanut, and that's
Paid by the job.
yeah. That's so. And the basis of this whole halacha is based on the fact that people are going to think that you're a schir yom, and l'chayra that doesn't apply in the reality that we live in today. You know, it's a Pasha thing, times have changed, so perhaps the halacha changed, and this is a very famous hallmark tshuva from the Night of Yehuda on this subject.
So what happens in building? So what happens then? So what's the
I'll just share with you from the last conversations I had with my wife's uncle, who was the Paisik in Panovich, was about somebody was going to have a tremendous amount of loss if there was going to be no building done on Chol Hamoed. And I asked my uncle, I was very much Untitled Chapter, and I asked my uncle, and he said, I think you could be Mekel. But then came a very surprising but. He said, Rav Wosner, for the last 50 years, every Shabbos Shuvah and Shabbos Hagadol Trosha speaks about people who do building on with kablonis, with aterim on Chol Hamoed, and he's against it, and therefore you cannot allow it to be done. He said, even though it's mutter, it's a pirza. So I said, but this is in Yerushalayim.
Oh,
what is
yeah.
that?
And what did he say?
Whatever.
I'm saying most of the kablanim are Jews that have goyim working for them.
There are cases where it's not like that, and there are cases when you have Jews that you're allowed to do it. So I'm not going to get so involved in the technical aspect. When you have a real question, we'll discuss it. That question in particular I discussed with many Rabbanim. Most Rabbanim were machmer. Anyways, mutar li telen Yehuda molacha b'kablonos or b'schir yom she'asenu achar hamoed u'b'vad shel yimna v'yishkol v'yimna k'derech she'oiseh b'chol. In other words, you're allowed to make the contract, if you want to use that term, on Chol Hamoed, as long as there's no malacha being done on Chol Hamoed. V'vadil yisrael shari litein v'nokat roche delema denachri b'vadi le'ikayim v'yasa b'moed. We don't have to be chayt that he's going to do it on Chol Hamoed, on the moed. Okay. As long as you don't do any of these things, kigon shenosed matva levigas abeged v'olishkoloi som b'yemireno v'im kek shenosed kev l'choybes akum l'chabes achar moed l'yimna oisom. If you're giving in your cleaning to the goyish cleaners, you shouldn't count them. But near the Bishul said, "Nogo olam shelo litein lekoybes akum b'chol hamoed klal mipnei she'asa limnoisoi," and that definitely would not be the case. I don't know if the people over here that know the thing called the pound. You could do your dry cleaning by the pound. It still exists.
Mostly washing is by the pound.
The washing is by the pound, but there's also dry cleaning by the pound.
Not too many places here. But
No, I know about here, but when I was a kid, there was such a thing. Things that needed to be dry cleaned, but they didn't need to be pressed. You know what I'm talking about?
Just wait.
Suit, you can buy suit.
Yeah, no, I understand those things because those are pressed. Those were pressed.
Things are just washed.
Okay. ליתן לו שיחבס אחר מועד אף לנויסם, אומר רבא משמע שאין מחלק בזה, ובשעת הדחק יש לסמוך ולהקל. Okay. Those are special din to them. Shari pir shein tzarich limchos biyadai, if he ended up doing it on Chol Hamoed. In other words, you weren't involved in the Chol Hamoed, you weren't trying to facilitate something to happen on Chol Hamoed. And if he ends up doing it, that's not your problem. Now, I would just like to make a statement over here, and don't want to get really involved in the subject, but recently a old question resurfaced in a great way in America. Because of Amazon, people are very into receiving packages. Okay? And if you have Prime, so they guarantee you 48 hours, is that the way it goes?
4 hours sometimes.
They guarantee you 4 hours?
For some packages, they
Really? Wow.
4 hours?
They can do it. It depends on what you're ordering, when you're ordering. Some packages are, otherwise it's the next day.
A fresh sandwich.
I was about to say I once had to wait 6 hours.
Okay, anyways, lo mashana.
Ice cream roll.
What?
Ice cream roll.
2 days, right? That's what I thought. It's 2 days is the standard.
No, it's 1 day.
Okay. This is not my area of expertise. To make that clear. Okay? I don't have Prime. Okay? Anyways, but the bottom line is when you have Yom Tov, can you order something on Prime? What?
It's going to be delivered on your phone?
If I order something on Wednesday and Rosh Hashanah is Thursday and Friday, when's it going to be delivered?
You don't know.
I've sometimes ordered stuff in England from my sister-in-law, and they say deliver it within 5 and 7 days, and then it comes out Shabbos.
That's a gambit.
Not purposely, it's just
Not without-
That's not.
Yeah, my father says that things are not exact. It comes earlier or it comes late.
Depends on your
It
neighborhood.
could even comes late. Brooklyn, New York.
1 second. I'm going to restate my situation, and I don't think there's any reason to argue about something which I said. I don't know if you people are aware, we started off Tafshin Pei Hey with a 3-day Yom Tov. Okay? So if I were to buy something on Amazon, I can promise you that I will get it either on Yom Tov or Shabbos. Right? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
It's fairly common in Chutz
Yeah, on the first day Sukkot, second day Sukkot, right? So the question is, are you allowed to make such orders? Okay.
If you know for sure it's gonna be there,
We just Prime.
no, as opposed to.
But you know Moritz, you don't know what Prime is.
No, as opposed to if you're not sure. I ordered something that says 5 to 7 days, and it happened once. It came on Shabbos. Not purposely.
5 to 7 days. They're not guaranteeing anything.
Right.
If you buy something
Next day
on
delivery, and you order it on a Friday, you know it's gonna get there on Shabbos.
right.
Are you allowed to do that?
Right. This was a question that was a big question about 50 years ago, but in my opinion, it has resurfaced in the Amazon world. You know, and we're just going to leave it right now. But those situations are worse because by the fact that I have Prime, I've actually told him I want you to deliver it to me within the next amount of time.
It's not for him to hold up his Prime name. That if you order Prime, you know you'll get it. It's for him.
That's irrelevant. But I made up my contract with
You
him.
get to check off when you want it delivered.
And is that the way it goes?
You can have it delivered Prime, which would be, let's say, Yom Tov or Shabbos, or sometimes they give you an alternative, which is a week away. So it's very difficult to say, I'll wait a week. Not like I wouldn't mind
It's
waiting.
very difficult to wait a week. Yeah, I
No.
understand. That's it.
I wouldn't mind waiting till
Sandwiches are
Sunday.
difficult.
Waiting till Sunday, who cares? But they're giving you a choice.
Whatever. I just say this is a subject. I'm just pointing it out because we don't. It was more or less shelved this question
Is
until.
there any short answer to this question?
There are many places that make it. Take a look at Mechas Yitzchok, the Machzeliyo. There are many reasons that one can be makel. My father, Olav Shalom, would never mail a letter on Friday after a certain time. He had a whole calculation, whatever. But all the local mail gets delivered the next day. That's the way that I don't know if there still is mail, or if it's called a female now. I don't know what's going on in America. I don't know. Anyways, that's they say when I was in America. They said they changed it. It's already called a person, not a male man. It's called a person. Anyways,
Nothing else to do.
all right. Okay, but Lamaisa, if the guy does it on his own volition, and that's why I'm mentioning this, in these cases you can't call it your own volition because you contracted him to do it at that time. Okay. Next siman. Chol Hamoed mutar la'asosam b'chol hamoed. K'goy nesakin drachim lahaser mehem achsholos v'letzayin ha'kvoros kadei sheyizora bo ha'kohanim. All these things are needed. V'lesakin mikvois. V'davka tzorchei rabim ka'elu shem tzrichim l'guf ha'odam. That a person needs them for his personal function. Avashar tzorchei ragim k'gon binyan beis ha'knesses. Also lasas b'moed, even though it's a mitzvah. Fuadin de l'shar tzorchei mitzvah also lasas malachas uman b'moed. I'll just tell you this Erev Sukkos, someone called me up. His father has a shul in Tel Aviv, and they're in the middle of doing shiputzim, and they rented pigumim, scaffolding. They rented scaffolding, and it's very expensive. It seems that what?
Paid per day.
They paid per day, and the kablan who's doing the building is maskim to not work on Chol Hamoed, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg to have the stuff for what?
Yeah, that's it.
The scaffolding. They called me up. I said, I don't know. I can't help you. This is the halacha over here, right? So
The reason you can't do it is because it's going to take too long. The person won't benefit from it.
no, there's no. I don't know what the word. Personal benefit and hanos haguf are not synonymous. I think we're having a definition issue over here.
That is going to have the scaffolding.
Tzorchei haguf means that my body is going to benefit from it. If the shul doesn't have enough chairs and you want to hire a carpenter to make chairs, perhaps that's mutter. Because that's tzorchei rabim that you're going to have hanos haguf. But there's not all tzorchei rabim give you, just like not all tzorchei yontif are, only machshir you're allowed to do things direct, things without a shinui, right? So that's this concept over here. Okay, we'll stop over here.